speaker, who is Dr. Wiagwa. Dr. Wiagwa is a senior pastor at Rehema Gospel Church in Loving, Texas, and department chair of religion and philosophy at Worley College. He's married to his honey, Okemoderi, Tabitha Waigwa, and together they have 3 children. Solomon and Tabitha believe that families are institutions where each member individually is welcomed and allowed to have their own goal, aspirations, and pursue their dreams. Dr. Waigwa will be talking to us today regarding balancing between 2 cultures. Dr. Waigwa, welcome. Dr. Waigwa, please unmute yourself.
I think it helps when I unmute myself.
Yes.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Now, it's 6:54 where I am. How many minutes do I have?
20 minutes.
How many?
20.
You said 20 minutes.
Yes.
So that takes me to 04:14, right?
Right at 14.
Yeah, 7:14, around 7:15. That'll be good. All right. Thank you so very much, my brothers and sisters. I really benefited listening to Dr. Mungai and Dr. Mudhoni. That was very insightful. And first of all, thank you for organizing this. This is needed in our time. And I pray that we can be able to invite others to come and participate. I'm so sorry that nobody in my church is here today. What I have heard ought to have been heard even from the pulpit. And we need to publicize this when it is happening. So I need to be given the calendar so that I can share this with people. Now, having said that, let me appreciate you all for inviting me here. It's been a very busy weekend. Well, approaching the weekend. I'm thinking like it's weekend already. It's Friday though, but yesterday was our anniversary. We clocked 37 years, my wife and I. And 37 years together, looking at the same face. Isn't that beautiful? And so today I took my wife to work rather than her to drive. And so I took her. She is a nurse manager, and so she has to see people. So I took her there and realized that I can't go pick her because of this. So I asked her to take Uber, and we were to come to my daughter for dinner. And I do not know whether she's made it, but I will have to know later. So here we are, and I really appreciate being here. And the topic is very dear to me. And I thank the speakers who've come before me because the topics were pertinent to the family and raising children. Let me say something that is not in my notes. The Bible says for us to train up children. The task of raising children, you know, the whole thing about pedagogy, it's the children's stuff, pedagogy. It's the doing the kids stuff, raising them. Okay, paideia and logos. That's all it means. You know, it's about children, and how do you raise them? The technical term there, as you are aware, is training and up. So we're training them upwards, and I want to talk about the challenges that we encounter here doing this in the United States, because the question I was asked to address is balancing between 2 cultures and parenting in the United States. The inference here must be for an African like me and yourself who are raising children in the United States. we're in the Western world, and our essence is from the non-Western world. So we have the two cultures, the Western culture. This may apply to people in Europe, Australia, and all the Western Western nations, versus African ourselves. And even to be more specific, you could zero into Kenya and to even farther go to our specific ethnic communities. I don't like the word tribe very much. Ethnic communities like the Turkana, the Luo, or whatever it is that somebody is engendered from, they have come from, the Okoye people. So what we hear when we come to the West is that, especially in America, you have heard of the popular phrase, the melting pot. And the idea is that all of us, the people we find here in ourselves, are supposed to be put in a melting pot, and the temperatures are raised, and we melt and mix, and we're supposed to be blended into whatever it is that we are going to become once we have melted and blended together. And I think I'm not a fan of the melting pot idea philosophically. And this is because it does a lot of violence to who the person is. That's one. The second one, and I don't want to dwell with that because I have to move the balancing part and the two cultures. But the melting pot. Secondly, I don't like it because when I look at the reality, I find that it's only me who is melting. The Western person does not melt, and so I'm being lied to. It's not true, because to really melt means we are all put together and we're going to begin to have aspects that are similar. But there's no way I can make my American friends love ugali. And therefore, I have developed a distaste of hamburgers as well as a response. So I don't like the melting pot. I suggest rather the salad bowl, if you will. I like to think of us as a salad bowl, this culture that we have come into, so that the tomatoes stay as tomatoes, and the good taste brought by the zucchinis and all those other things put together, the carrots, you don't want to pulp them into one thing. You just want to take them as they are, so when you chew them, you can feel the potato, you can feel the tomato, it becomes more wholesome. So the salad bowl instead, where and what I'm saying here is everyone maintains their heritage, is doable, and shared values, especially cross-culturally, we can share those if we maintain them. I have seen here in the US, you will go to certain communities and you will find, if you want to buy Czech bread from the cultures of Czechoslovakia, here in Texas, you want to drive south on I-35 and go to a city called West. It's famous for Czech bread and cakes and all that confectionery. And the city prides itself for that. You go farther south of Austin, you're going to find a city that prides itself at being Germanic. They don't speak German. All of them are speaking English, but they have these German festivals. So what's wrong with that? That's very, very good, because it's happening within this large salad bowl called the United States. So I want to say, I emphasize that everyone maintain their heritage, but be able to share them, especially the values thereof, cross-culturally. This is possible. You may be familiar with Professor Ali Mazrui. Professor Mazrui tells us, or he advocated what's called tripartite heritage, speaking about us Africans. He says we have a tripartite heritage because we have inherited values from three different directions. He's thinking of the African direction, and perspective. He's thinking of the Western perspective, and he's also thinking of the Asian perspective. So when you go to Kenya, for instance, or you go to a Kenyan home here in the US, you are definitely going to find something like ugali, which is essentially African, but you may also find chapati, which is Indian. But you may also find something that comes from Middle East, like Kiswahili, which is a mixture of African languages and Arabic. And so you have that fine mix of cultures coming together, and they don't fight. They are blended very well, even back home. And I do believe that we can do the same here. So what I want to talk to you very briefly here is culture, diversity, and integration. And I want to emphasize that there is a place of shared values. I like that Modoni Varnard talked about, family values, and that's where I am. Many of you may be aware, those of you that know me, that my family came here in 1996. My kids were just very, very young. I've raised all my 3 children here. My baby came at the age of 4, and all of them, and I say all of them, look like me in terms of culture. They speak 3 languages like me, because that's what I wanted to replicate. I wanted to raise a Kenyan, somebody who can decide to go back home and run for MP or for president and not having to do so through an interpreter. I am big, like you, my brother, I am big in languages. But here we are in the US, and we are called to balance between these 2 cultures. And I want to say that when we develop family values, that will help us to balance between these 2 cultures. You see, I like to see family as social institutions. I like to think of a family as a corporation. All right? You think of Walmart. Now, if you are blindfolded and you are taken to Kmart, for instance, or you are taken to Kroger, for instance, and they have removed the names, Kroger, or whatever it is that they take you there, and then you are unfolded and you look at the modus operandi, if you will. If you look at the way of doing things, the way they organize themselves there, you are going to see a culture. And you're going to, when you look at that culture, you're going to say, oh, I'm right in Walmart. The way they arrange things, the way they do things, the way they function here. Oh, I'm in Kroger. I'm not in the other grocery. Why? It's because they have corporational values that they have engendered over the years. And I am an advocate of every family doing shared values. You know why I'm saying this? It is because Tabitha and I have been able to raise 3 children who came here as toddlers, but they are Akorino of Akorinos. They have been educated to the highest level of learning in these United States, yet they still speak their language to where when their grandmother, when she was alive, could speak with them for hours. I could hear them laughing in their bedrooms. They're calling grandma, and they're doing that because they still have that connection, linguistically speaking and culturally speaking. They have not lost that. That's what I wanted to raise, and so just bless them with that. So families become corporations, and so when you have a value, family value, which mine was, we are Kenyan, we are Akorino, and we speak a language called Kikuyu, and then we speak a language called Swahili, and we speak a language called English. And we want to speak those languages well. And so you raise that human being, that individual, and you are raising them for these United States to be able to function in the highest office in these United States, speaking Kikuyu, speaking Kiswahili, speaking English. It is possible. And if they choose to go to Kenya, they will still be able to go to the rural area and they can still serve there. Interestingly, my son works for the World Bank. He is a public finance specialist with the World Bank. And now, because of COVID, he can work from anywhere. He just got married in June. And so he comes and says, Dad, we're going to Kenya for 3 months. We'll be working from Nairobi. They've already bought a place and they want to live there for 3 months before they rent it out. Isn't that amazing? That's what we thought when we were raising these babies. It is that they can be able to, they are citizens of the world. Now, the Bible asks whether two can walk together if they do not agree. That is in Amos 3 and verse 3. The text, the translation I like to use says, can two walk together except they be agreed? I like what it says in other Bibles. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to do so? So in a family, you may have more than two if you have children. And you may have 3 if you have 1 child, 4 if you have 2. And those people cannot succeed working together in these 2 cultures unless they be agreed. So I want to put it to you that what we need is shared values that are, and that is what I think is lacking with many of our families, that kids grow here without values that call at them to the attention of the family. And that's why you will find that they will insist on doing what the Joneses do down the street. And when that question arises in my own home, I say, well, this is not the Joneses, this is the Wiagwas, and we don't do that. The Joneses, that's their culture, that's their way of doing things, you know. You are 13 and you're telling me that the Joneses, Mr. Jones allows his son, who is 12, to bring his girlfriend. I am telling you, you are 12 like him, but that's not going to happen because you are not there yet. I don't think that's where you are right now. And so, and we talk about that, and we share that value, and they begin to see why there are some things that are better. You're not going to isolate one girl and bring her closer to you, and then you're talking of exes, so many exes before you are even 19. You know, I want to say this, shared values are so important, and I'm not ashamed of them because they are associated with worth, they are associated with meaning, and they are associated with, with a desire to become successful. Shared values are primary source of motivation in people's lives. They are considered to be the foundational ethics in any community and in a culture. When people's values are met or matched, they feel a sense of satisfaction, a sense of harmony, a sense of rapport. When their values are not met, when their values are not matched, they feel dissatisfied, they feel incongruent. In fact, they even feel violated because their values have not been met or even matched. So in any organization, including the family, shared values engender trust, and they link member to member. The dysfunctionality we find in many families, including American families, is coming because of that lack of something that they have in common. Shared values. They form a type of non-physical framework that binds people together and surrounds all their interactions within that system called the family. This is important because values are related with belief. One of our values in my family is we are Christians, and we are confessing Christian. We are that, not just Christian, we are confessing Christians, born again, spirit filled, tongue talking, all those things. And above all that, we put on a turban because we are Akorino and we want to maintain that value. See? So when you do that, whatever value that you pick, for us, we pick Kiremba, Mokurino, education, church, school. Those are values that are very, very important. For instance, my kids make fun of me when they say that in our family, when you get up in bed, you don't, on a Sunday morning, you don't ask, will I go to church this morning? No. Daddy says you don't, that question does not even begin to be formed in your brain because you are a Wiagwa. Our value here is on Sunday morning, we go to church. That's what we've done. That's what we will do. We go to church. It's either the church or the ER. Take your pick. And so they will laugh about that. And even when they go out and they are professors and they get married and they are this and that, they have never missed church because that is a value that was inculcated in them. And they're proud of it. They owned it. It's shared. Sharing means they possess it. It's not just given by the parent. No, the parent directs them towards it and they took it. So it becomes a motivation. And I will give an example that I like to give before I close here, but let me say this. So shared values and beliefs become the glue which holds the organization together. And when organization think of the family. So conflicts of values become a source of disharmony and dissension. Sometimes you'll have conflicts. I remember one time my daughter, having graduated with her RN years ago, and she went to buy nursing slacks. I think that's what they call them, slacks, whatever, the nursing uniform. So she goes and she can't find dresses. But she says, well, I am not going to wear pants because I happen to be a Mokurino. And one of my values as a Mokurino is I don't wear Akorino women have not started wearing, jeans and trousers. And I'm not going to do that. So you know what she did? She just called me one day and said, Dad, let's meet at Walmart. And we go to Walmart and she asked me to pick this box, take it to the car. And it was a single sewing machine. The girl had decided if they do not make dresses for nurses, she's going to learn to make them because she's not going to quit being a nurse, but she's not going to throw away her value. I'm just lifting that example. Now she has a PhD. She still goes she's a professor. She's a sheriff department. But she is a Mokurino woman, and that's how she identifies herself. Now, she came to this country 9 years old. But I'm not talking about that girl. I'm talking about the values. Now, whatever value you lift, ours was a Akorino. What's yours going to be? Whatever value you choose to identify your family, that becomes values, become identity, which a family is known in its social environment. The values must be stated as both corporate objectives and individual goals. It's us and myself, because we have shared this. So my friends, I've talked about values and I've talked about how important it is for each family to engender cultural values, religious values, intellectual values, philosophical values, emotional values even. There are some things we don't talk this house. There are certain ways we do not speak this house. I remember just 2 days ago, I was watching a movie with my daughters. And this movie had too many curse words. And my wife says, oh my God, this is too much. And one of my daughters said this, and I was like, wow. She said, well, you know what? We have to learn to be able to watch such a movie, because this is not different from being at Walmart, because you hear the same language sometimes in Walmart. People will talk that this is the way Americans speak. Some of them, not all of them. So we are in this society. What we have to do is to develop some skin and say, we don't talk like that in the Wiagwa family, but the environment speaks like that, and we live here. So what we have to do is to adapt. How am I doing in terms of time? Oh my God, I need to quit. So let me conclude by saying three things. We have developed these values that each family must develop. We don't talk like that in this house. You know, in this house, we do not go to bed before we finish our homework. Why? Because this is us. This family, we go to church. This family, we say please, we say thank you. Okay, so you have that. It will help you to adapt. You adapt to change. Number two, you act on opportunities that come for each member of the family. And number three, it will help you to overcome challenges. Overcoming challenges while holding on unchanging shared core values. That is what I have seen happening in this little family that I happen to be a parent, is we have weathered a lot of challenges by lifting the values that we have and using them. We cannot throw the towel, because we don't do that. We have a God who helps us. And so we take the opportunities and overcome the challenges, but we still maintain unchanging core values. Once we understand those core values, we are going to become whatever it is that we can become, while maintaining us, maintaining who we are.
It's talking about culture. The question is, so this issue of most tribes, specifically Kikuyu, is going back to its cultural value. Is it biblical?
Thank you. Yeah, is it biblical? When God saves you, He does not displant you from your culture. He redeems you from your sin. We all are human beings, and human beings exist in cultures. The gospel, the Bible, is for human beings, and human beings exist in culture. Whether it is Jewish culture, which we tend to think that is biblical, which is very wrong. Jewish culture is one culture. And when we see the gospel going to the countries of Europe among the Greeks, and the apostles say, hey, we do not need to force these people to become Jews in Acts chapter 15. They can still be Greeks, and they can still do what they're supposed to do. Unfortunately, when the gospel came to our continent, the Europeans did not do what the Jews did to them in the first century. The Jews said, we are not going to force these people to become Jews. We are going to just ask them to accept Jesus and be good Europeans who do not kill people, who do not hate people, who do not fight, just good people. And they became that. But when they in turn brought the gospel to us, they wanted to remove our Africanness and pump into us not Christianity, not biblicalism, but Westernism. And so we have wisened up now, and we realize that Jesus has no issue with my being Kikuyu or being Luo or being Turkana. I can still come with my Turkana and still access divine grace. And that's what we are talking about here. So my politeness as a Mugikuyu, just speaking my language, particularly for me, it's just speaking my language and being able to, for instance, it's very interesting. My my son married a white girl. Do you know we had to take dowry there? Because I asked my son, are you Kikuyu or are you European? He said, I am Kikuyu of the Kikuyus. Then if you do not Russia, you will never Rasherio. If you do not give dowry, you should never ask for dowry. He said, we have to find a way of taking dowry to Florida. And so we did. And so the girl married into a Gikuyu family using Gikuyu cultural values and what we did was, because the husband was, the father was like, oh, you're buying my girl. And we said, far from it. The two families have to exchange gifts. That's how we presented it to them. It was such a beautiful thing over there in Florida when we did that. So what I'm saying is we can still be true to our values of respecting elders, of being kind to one another, of being mindful of, and that is the kind of community I'm trying to engender here in America. I remember just last Friday, I had some men come help me make a large chicken coop that I'm making about 100 feet by 60. And we were fencing it. And the men came and they said, hey, this is our culture. So yeah, it's biblical for you to be Luo. It's biblical for you to be Lukana or whatever you are. You don't have to change that. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Wiagwa. We are now going to move to the open session where anybody can ask questions or comments. And we are going to start with Arinola, who has a Arinola, please go ahead.
Thank you, Gladwell. You are doing a great job felicitating this evening. Thank you to all our speakers. Dr. Solomon, I have a question for you.
Yes,
what would you say to parents who have done all the right things and have not really or are not seeing the same success that you've had raising your children? I know a few and they go to church, they speak the language, but they are dealing with rebellious and stubborn teenagers, adults who have drug issues and all those things. And it's not because they are bad parents, it's just what life throws at them. And I know we may not have any on this forum, but we probably know people who are struggling in that area. So as helpers, what would you say to such people? Or what should we take from here to share with them? That's my first question. Second question to all the speakers, is there such thing as over-parenting? So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can all chip in here, but I want to say this. I think some of the problems I have encountered with those parents who say they have tried everything is that they begin to notice these problems when these kids have gone. You know, we work too much here in America, and I'm guilty as charged. But what we have to do, and this is why I talk about shared values and conversations. I think it's Dr. Mudoni that was very big on interactions within the family. You see, when you are able to engender a community, when you are able to bring the community together. I'm in my daughter's house right now, and I like the cooking, I can smell it. But it started when she was 2 years old, you know, and feeling that she's a part of this family, bringing people together. I think that is lacking when we come here to America because we work too much. But if we can maximize the little time that we have so that every child knows that they are important. And what I would say to such a child, and I have spoken to some kids like that, and I have become a father to many of them, is by asking them what are their values, and they begin to see that they are expending themselves into things that do not affirm their life. Okay, these are things that do not affirm your life. So what you need to do, you need to change. And so when you look at it, you find that somebody dropped the ball somewhere. Why should children feel alienated? I like what Modoni said. That the children should not be made to feel like they are alien in their own home. Okay, they need to feel they are a part of this. And I dealt with, for instance, what Modoni was talking about, cheerleading. Can you imagine a Mokorino girl, second grade, wanting to cheerlead, and a Mokorino father trying to tell her why that might not work for? It might work for another Kikuyu girl, but for you, because of the values, you have this value which is going to conflict with this value here that you're trying to reach at. So you need to kind of look at them and decide where you are at. And she was able, at that age, she was able to say, you know what? I think I'm going to find something else and not cheerleading, because I am a Mokorino and proudly so, and I may not be able to do that. That kid said that. So when you affirm these kids, and they must start when they are 1, when they are 2, when they are 3, when they are 4, okay? Having meetings with them. I will skip everything else but have those dates with my girls. They are grown, but I will still do that to this day. And because they feel connected. And that is what is lacking, because we come and we are too bossy, we are too preachy. Okay? That's how we come out. We're too preachy, especially those of us that are pastors. We grab the Bible and we tell them, hey, the Bible says. Now, in my family, there's another value called the table. The table is where, when we are praying, we have done dinner, then we ask you, what's going on in your life? This is where we talk about the boys. This is where we talk about cheerleading. This is where we talk about scouting. This is where we talk about those things that are happening. We call it the table. My daughter, who is my associate pastor now, Dr. Chico, she said to me, you know, Dad, I have realized.
Dr. Wiagwa, I think we lost you. Dr. Wiagwa?
That's terrible. I need to go to the table with my family soon, so I will be wanting to leave as well.
Well, before Dr. Wiagwa comes back, how about Dr. Muthoni and Dr. Mutonya address Alinola's second question? Is there such a thing as overparenting?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back. Dr. Wiagwa, can you unmute yourself?
You're muted.
Dr. Wiagwa, please unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes, let me finish this thought. I have to finish this thought. Those who say they have done everything, if they were to go back to when that kid was 1, was 2, was 3, they are going to find they dropped the ball somewhere. And I did too. But what I have to do is to keep affirming and affirming. I was talking with my daughter a few moments ago. I was driving, we were on the phone. And I said how I have to keep pledging loyalty to my wife, although there is no other. She's the only one. So what I'm saying here is we have to do the same with our children over and over again. When they are 1, 2, 3, 4, and even now that they are 30, we're still doing the same. And I'll tell you this, when you do that, parenting will be easy and you will love it when they introduce their spouse to you and that spouse becomes one of our children. Thank you for having me. God bless you.